I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated.
Although Michael Jordan's life on the court is very glamorous with lots of highs, his private life is a completely different story. His first marriage was a hot mess, and that's putting it lightly, with lots of rumors of cheating, having babies outside of the marriage, and a bunch of other things. It's time to look into what really happened in Michael's first marriage, as well as what happened to his ex-wife. Because ever since she and Michael divorced, it's like she fell off the face of the earth. This whole thing is honestly insane, so without wasting any time, let's dive into this story. I'd like to say that Michael's first marriage was like a fairy tale before everything went sour. But the truth is that it wasn't. Right from the get-go, there were dozens of red flags. But somehow, everyone decided to ignore them and keep moving forward until the marriage ended in disaster. You see, Michael has a reputation for being a chronic playboy. This is a reputation that he's had ever since his young adult years. It all started around the same time he made his Olympic debut and got together with the late Olympic track star Kim Gallagher. Although Kim and Michael's relationship didn't work out, it opened his eyes to something. And that was that Michael could get any girl that he wanted without trying too hard. He had the looks, and he also finally had the money and fame, so there was nothing stopping him. And Michael knew this, so he went on a rampage, getting together with anyone interested simply because he knew he could. Michael's love for women was his biggest weakness, and no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't stay away. He had to make his mother his chaperone to watch over him, just so he wouldn't let a woman ruin his life. And whenever his mother wasn't in the picture, another one of his relatives would fill her shoes. This was how life was for Michael for the first few years of his professional career, until he met Juanita Vinoy. Michael and Juanita met at a restaurant somewhere in Chicago in mid-1985. Juanita stood out to Michael because, unlike all the other women, she didn't care much for him. She wasn't throwing herself at him and didn't bother chasing him, so Michael decided to be the person doing the chasing. Although Juanita was a few years older than Michael, his family didn't care. She seemed like a decent enough person, and that was more than good enough for them because at least she'd help him get off the street. He wouldn't be seen hanging out with a new woman every other day. Michael and Juanita started dating, and in December 1986, Michael popped the question. Everything was going smoothly until Juanita got pregnant and everything fell apart. Believe it or not, Michael refused to acknowledge the baby that Juanita was pregnant with, claiming that the child wasn't his. Just like that, their sweet relationship turned sour real soon, and Juanita was ready to fight Michael for everything that he was worth. Michael, being the smart guy that he is, knew that something like this, getting into the news, would ruin the momentum his career was having. So he asked her lawyers to meet up with his lawyers and for them to settle the issue privately. According to the Chicago Tribune, Michael and Juanita kept dating while all of this drama was going on. They kept this up until Juanita gave birth to their son, Jeffrey. To the surprise of everyone, even after Jeffrey was born, Michael and Juanita kept dating. But then, one day, Juanita called up her lawyers and told them that she and Michael were going to get married, so they needed to stall the paternity suit and instead get her a prenup. Before anyone knew it, they flew to Las Vegas and got married by 3 a.m. in a pair of jeans with a 3-carat ring for Juanita and no wedding band for Michael because they didn't have enough time to get one. And when Juanita's lawyers approached her because of this, saying that they hadn't signed the prenup but got married, Juanita asked them to let that go and focus on a postnup instead. The good thing is that she and Michael eventually signed the postnup, albeit a few years later. This was a smart move on Juanita's end because with everything that happened in the marriage afterward, they definitely needed that postnup. You see, even though Michael was married to Juanita, he was still jetting around the world, getting together with as many women as he possibly could. Barely 3 months into their marriage, Michael got together with a woman named Karla Knafel. He had told Karla that his marriage to Juanita was nothing more than a business arrangement and that he considered Juanita to be hired help. Meanwhile, he was busy telling the media that getting married to Juanita was one of the best things that ever happened to him. When Michael and Karla's relationship was done, he ended up paying her $250,000 to keep quiet, and she did. The only problem was that people like Karla always come back for more because they know their sources never run dry. And that was exactly what Karla did. A few years later, Karla came back, threatening to expose her relationship with Michael. And this time around, she wanted $5 million because $250,000 wasn't cutting it anymore. But all of this didn't happen before Juanita decided to hire a private investigator so that she could catch Michael in the act. In 1998, Juanita hired a private investigator that tailed Michael while he was spotted traveling from Chicago to Florida and back. During this time, Michael was seen with at least 6 different women, and he didn't care. Juanita held on to this information and decided not to do anything. She kept quiet and continued collecting evidence of Michael's infidelity until 2002, when she finally decided to file for a divorce from Michael. The craziest part is that the divorce didn't even go through. Somehow, Michael and Juanita put their differences aside and remained married. A few months after this, Karla came back for her second pound of flesh, but Michael filed an extortion lawsuit against her and won. Still, that wasn't the end of all this drama, because right as this was ending, a woman came out and accused Michael of being the father of her son. It was later proved that Michael wasn't, but I guess you could say that Juanita had already had enough. After 17 years of marriage, she filed for a second divorce. And this time, she didn't change her mind. She ended up getting $168 million from their divorce settlement. At the time, that was the highest amount an athlete had ever paid in a divorce, before Tiger Woods surpassed this amount when he paid his ex-wife over $700 million a few years later. Since their divorce, Juanita has continued to live a private life. According to Pink Villa, she now owns and manages a luxury online resale boutique. As for Michael, he's calmed down a lot more and is happily married to Yvette Prieto. But we all know what they say about leopards and their spots. Do you guys think that Michael is actually loyal to his current wife? Or do you think that one of these days something shady is going to come out about his behavior? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below.